Hey, hello. In the last session, we have discussed about the HTTP send and HTTP request and response. So today we're going to talk much more in detail about these things. So first of all, let's say that we have two applications, and let's say that two applications. So the application one is written in the Java, and application two is written in the or is also written in the Java. So we have the two, so we have the same language to be communicated. So let's say that this has a client and other one as a producer, or we can say that this has a client or this has a server. So we can say consumer, producer, or client or server. Anything is fine. Okay. So let's say that to communicate this between these two applications, we need both the classes, both the projects, both the classes needs to be serializable. Let's say that application 2 2 wants to talk with the application 1. Okay, so let's say that application 2 has some object. So if at all it needs this object to be transferred to the application 1, then it needs to be the application 2 needs to be serializable. Okay, so similarly in the application 1, it has to read the serial, it has to read these objects, right? So it needs to deserialize this object, then it's going to read it. Similarly, if at all the application 1 needs to send this object back to the some processed object back to the application 2, then the application 1 needs to be serializable and the application 2 needs to be deserializable. The same way, so we can say that both the classes, all the classes needs to be both serializable and deserializable. That's about the two different applications with the same written in the same language. So let's say that we have a two different applications written in the two different languages. Let's say that. So let's say that we have application one written in the .NET. Okay, .NET. The application two is written in the Java. So let's say that the application one needs to talk with the application one. So what it's going to send is it's going to send request. It's going to send request. So the application one needs to process and send back the response back to the application two. Let's say that application one has this object. So application one has this object. So it has this object. Okay, so it needs to transfer to the application one, and application one needs to process and send back to the response back to the to the application two in the form of object, right? So but if you look at the both applications, they're written in the two different languages. One is written as Java, other one is written as .NET. So how can they communicate? So we need some kind of a language uh, which can where both the languages, where both the Java and .NET should be able to understand. So so then there comes the language known as XML, Extendable Markup Language. So using this language, we can, so any application written in any language can understand this XML format. So we'll be making use of XML. Okay, XML language to talk between two applications which are interoperable. So why I'm saying interoperable, because both applications are written in two different languages, so we can say this as interoperable application. So we will use uh, so if two different applications we want to communicate, we need to use the medium. We need so definitely we for these applications to communicate between these two. Oh, let me form it in the right way. Okay, interoperable applications. So now, so as I say that we need some common language. That common language is nothing but XML. We'll be using XML, extendable markup language. So this language can be understood by any languages, by any language. Okay. So, but to transfer this XML, we need some kind of a medium. What is that? It is nothing but internet. Okay, internet. So coming to the point of internet, we have few things to understand. So as I say that um, we got two applications. So as we say that we need to, let's say that these are two interoperable applications. Okay, and this has app2. Okay, these two different applications. So as I said that they need to make use of the XML, extendable markup language, to communicate between two different applications. So, and I also say that they need some medium. What is that medium? That is the internet. So coming to the point of internet, internet is how we are going to do some kind of things in using internet. We'll make use of some browser tools. What does the browser do? Internet Explorer. We'll be using Chrome, or we'll be using Mozilla, Opera, and all these are internet browsing tools. So if you look at these internet browsing tools, they have some speciality. What is that specialty? The specialty is nothing but, so they have something known as, so they all make use of the protocol to communicate between two different applications. Protocol. What is that protocol? That protocol is nothing but HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. So they'll be making use of this protocol to transfer the XML between multiple applications or two different applications. Okay. So coming to the point of HTTP protocol. So all the browsers that we make use of, they usually use the HTTP protocol. So let's discuss much more about this HTTP protocol. Let's say that the application wants to some data from the application one. So what it's going to do, it's going to send a request, right? It's going to send some request. Some request. So application one will process it and send back the response. Send back the response. The response back to the application one. So coming to the browsers, what they will be doing is they will be sending request in the form of HTTP. So that's nothing but they'll be sending HTTP request format. They'll be sending the data in the form of HTTP request format, and they will be getting a response in the form of HTTP response format. That's how they will be getting the data. Okay. So, so XML is a common language where any application which are written, any language can understand this language. So to transfer this XML, we need some medium. What is that medium? That is internet. Internet uses HTTP to transfer this data, to transfer the XML data. So what does XML has? XML has some data. So to transfer this data, we are making use of some protocol, that is HTTP protocol. So what it's going to do is it's going to internet the browsers automatically. The browsers in the sense of the browsers like Internet Explorer, Chrome, Mozilla, or Opera, and all this stuff. They internally make use of the HTTP protocol. What they will be doing is they will be sending the request to the application one in the form of they will be sending this request in the form of some format, that is, we will be discussing much more about it, in the form of HTTP request. So in the response, they will be getting HTTP response. So previously we have discussed that if you need to talk between two different applications, we will be making two different applications written in the same language. there we need serializable and deserializable. But coming to the point of the interoperable applications, we cannot, these serializable and deserializable, it doesn't work because they're interoperable applications written in two different languages. So here we'll be making use of XML. Okay. So what we'll be doing, application 2 wants to talk with application 1, so it will be sending HTTP request. It will be in a certain format. We'll be discussing it, and again the application 1 is going to respond in the form of HTTP response. It will be also in a certain format. So what will be that format? First of all, let's discuss about the HTTP request format. What it's going to have. So it's going to have four different parts. Commonly, four different parts. The first one is it's going to have uh, initial request. It's going to have the initial request line. So then the second part, they will be having zero or more number of headers. So the second part, they will be having headers. Okay. In the third part, it's going to have the blank line. Okay. In the fourth, it's going to have the actual request body. Request body. So whatever it needs to transfer, that thing will be present here. So this is about the HTTP request format. So here we'll be having initial request line, and in the second we'll be having zero or more number of headers. Then we'll be having blank line and request body. Similar, when coming to the HTTP response format, we will be having a similar format. Okay, but quite similar. Here we'll be having request response body. Instead of request, we'll be having response body. So let's look into it. I will open. Um, Let me close this. I'll open Chrome. Go to YouTube. Okay, I will do one thing. Simply close this and open. Press F12. F12 is nothing but inspect. To inspect the network elements and all those stuff, we'll be using network using inspect. So here, what I'm going to do is we need to go to network. Network, I have cleared everything. Logs, I cleared all the logs. So now I will go to YouTube. I want to click on it. HTTP request will be sent to that client. What is the client? The client YouTube is the client. So there will request will be sent, and the it's YouTube server, it's going to respond back with some data. Here you can look at. So this is the response. The response, we got this thing. What is the request? What we have sent? We have sent the request as YouTube. We simply opened the browser and selected the YouTube. So that's nothing but HTTP request. In the response, we got all the YouTube. We got all these things. So let's go to, let me select all and select any of this. Okay, let me select any of this request. I'll select this. Mhm. I will do one thing. I will clear one more time and open YouTube. Okay. This is the initial request, right? I will click on it. When I click, you can see headers, preview, response, cookies, and all the stuff. but we are concerned about the URL. What is the URL we have used? This is the URL. So I will go to Postman and copy this. And if you look at the request method, we have different methods: get, post, put, delete, and all those stuffs. Get is nothing but to retrieve the data. The post is nothing but if at all you want to uh, modify any data, then you'll be using post. So modify, or if at all you need to add something, then definitely you'll be using post. But here we are just sending the request to get some data, so it's simply get. Okay. So if I go to YouTube and search for a certain particular video, then it will be post, because the criteria what I have used, it will be taken as post, and the criteria, the search words, the keywords what we have used will be present in the body, and it will be sent. So it will be post. So here we have just selected YouTube and send the request, right? So it's just in get method. So I have selected the get method. Then we need headers. The headers are nothing but some additional information about that particular URL. So instead of passing, we can also pass these values here in the URL as an query parameters, but we for the but for the security purpose, we'll be using all the additional information in the form of headers. So this is the response headers. We need request headers. Okay, let me copy all these things. Copy this and paste it in the headers. Okay, let me click send. When you click send, see, you can see the status is 200, and the response, if you look at the browser, this is the response. So all the YouTubes, it is displaying all the trendings and all those videos, right? So that is the response. So if you look at the Postman, this is not in the readable format. So this is the response. Okay, so let's compare our HTTP request format with this thing. So I say that first of all, it's going to have initial request line. So initial request line is nothing but it's going to have the URL and method it is being used, all those stuff. So let's look into it. I will maximize it. You can see what is the method it is using. It is using get method. And what is the URL? This is the URL. This is the URL, right? Request URL. So what is the request method? It is making use of get method, and what is the protocol it is following? It's HTTP protocol. Okay, and these are the request headers, nothing but additional information. So this is about the initial request line. So in the headers we have already discussed about it has multiple headers. So you can see selected request headers. So you can see all these are request headers. All these are request headers. So request headers are in the format of key and value, name and value, accept some value, accept encoding some value, accept language some value, cache control some value. In this way, we have the headers in the format of key and value, name and value. Okay, so that's about this thing. So coming to the point of request body, as it is just it is a get service, will be not having body. Okay, we'll also try with the post method. So when we run this in the Postman is a tool where you can check the all the APIs, how they are working and all those stuff. It is very amazing tool, especially used in the web service testing. Okay, that's about the all this stuff. So let's this we have tried with the get. Let's try with the. I will clear all these things. I'll click this button to clear cache, to clear all the logs, and I will search in the YouTube. I am doing search. The search is nothing but, see, I have clicked the search. So it has sent the response saying that all the stuff I don't want all this stuff. What I'm going to do is, so when you enter something in the search, So the search criteria, the search keywords what you have entered should be passed in the body. So this will be post method. Okay, so let's check it. I will say, okay, I will say this. So I have entered this and select and click search. So it has sent the post request. Let's search. Let's look into it. Select this. Okay, I'll do one thing. I will go to Gmail. I'll go to Gmail. Okay. Click F12. I have clicked F12. Okay, and clears the cache. Now, what I'm going to do is click sign in. Oh, it has opened in the new tab. Okay, I will do one thing. I will press F12 here. I don't have anything in the logs. Okay, now here I'm going to enter my email ID. So this is my email ID. I will say next. I've said next. So you can see this is a sign in. Look up and all the stuff. So it has sent the format of post. So let me, it has sent the format because we are passing some value. So it will take it as take that particular keywords in the body. Okay. So this is the this is a request URL. Let's try running in the Postman. Copy this URL. Go to Postman. Use the new tab. Paste it there, and go to request headers. So all these are my headers. I'll, oh, we have many headers. Too many headers. Copy this. Go to bulk edit and go to headers and bulk edit. Then all these things. So these are the headers. So as it is the post request, I'm going to select post. Okay. And if it is a post, definitely will be having body. Request body. I will go to headers. This is the request header. So this is the response what we got, but I want body. So let me search for the, so somewhere we need to have body. I'm not sure about this. Let me go to Internet Explorer this is the email ID. So we will have a body. So Internet Explorer is showing the body very well. Let me clear this, and I will enter some password. Say next. When I say next, you can see this is the URL. Where is the URL? So this is the URL. Go to Postman and paste this. And I will select body. I need headers, right? Request headers. Where are request headers? These are request headers. Copy this. Copy this thing. Go to headers. Paste it there. Okay. Now we have got headers. We need body. I'm going to select raw, and let me go to request body and copy all these things. Copy all these things and paste it here. Okay, this is simply text. Okay, when you click send, it will send some body, and this is we got phone out for response saying this method is not found. Why it is so? So this is a post request. Now we selected post. We selected all these things, and we have selected body, everything. But again, we got some response, right? So this is about the post. The post will be having body. So headers are nothing but some additional information. If at all you want to pass, if you don't want to pass the values in the URL as in query parameters, then you can search, then you can make use of the headers. You can pass them in the headers. So the body is nothing but if at all you want to pass some value. Okay, you want to pass some value. So that thing will be present in the body. So this is about HTTP request and response. Okay. So we have discussed the HTTP request, and the HTTP response will be also in the same format. Okay. So in case of a web service, it is not required us to create HTTP request or response. So in case of web service, it is not required us to create the HTTP request or response. Automatically, the browsers that we make use of, the Chrome, Internet Explorer, Mozilla, or Opera, and all these things, they automatically create the HTTP request and the HTTP response format. So in this case, we can say that web service does our 90 percentage of our job. 90%. We just need to the pass those values. That's it. So it is not required us to um, create Java object into XML. So just like as we discussed about, so it's not required us to create the object into the XML, and it is not required us to add XML into the response body. From provider side, we need to convert XML into object. Okay. So in case of web service, it is not required us to create HTTP request or response body, and it is not required us to create Java object into XML. And we just need to, in the provider side, we just need to convert XML into the object. So that's what, let me draw a diagram and show you in much more detail. So let's say that these are the two applications. So this is application 1 and application 2. So let's say that we have some program, right? So application 2 will be sending some kind of, let's say, so the response will be getting HTTP response. Okay, so let's say that this is the client or consumer. So let's have this as server or provider. So let's say the application 1 to talks with the application 1. So it will be making use of XML language, and using HTTP protocol, it will transfer the data. So what's going to happen is application, let's say that application has some data, it needs to be transferred. So automatically the web browsers, they will automatically convert our data, our objects into the XML, and it will transfer to the application 1. So it is not required us to create HTTP request. Automatically it will be created by the uh, explorers. So this thing will be automatically created with browsers. It's not required by. The same way, HTTP response also. Response format is also not required to create by the user. So let's say that we in the here we have some object. So this object will be converted into the XML automatically by the XML by the browsers. Okay, they will automatically convert and send back to the application one. So whereas in the response, whenever they receive some kind of object, okay, so here the application, here the consumer. So here in the provider, let's say that it has transferred from here to here. So automatically the XML has converted this object and transferred here. So here from provider side, we need to convert this XML into object and read, process the data. Again, after processing, automatically HTTP response will convert into XML and they will be transferred here. So the application 2 will get some XML. So application XML needs to be converted into the object, and the application 2 needs to make use of this thing. So here the data will flow as XML, and here they will receive XML, and they need to convert it to their object. Okay, they need to convert it as an object. The same where here they will be receiving XML and they need to convert it as an object. So converting from XML to object is our responsibility, but whereas converting from object to XML, it's the browser responsibility, right? It's the browser responsibility. We have some object, so converting this object to the XML, it's a browser responsibility. We will be not converting in the XML browser format, XML format, HTTP request or HTTP response. Okay, it's the browser responsibility. So once it is transferred here, it will be transferred here as an XML. So the application one needs to transfer that XML as an object to read it, because it's Java, right? So what is the process? It will send the HTTP response. The HTTP response, what's going to have? It's going to convert this object into XML automatically. The conversion of the object to the XML is automatic. So once it is converted, it will send here. It will send here XML. It will send XML. So XML needs to be here. It will send as an XML. So the XML needs to be converted as object. It's our responsibility. So whereas when it receives as HTTP request, it will get as not convert here. Here it is done automatically here, both in the HTTP request and HTTP response. Okay, so that's about the HTTP request and response. We are going to be able to talk much more in detail when we start of in a couple of days. First of all, let's jump on to the main topic. So web service, right? So let's start the web service. Web service. Okay, so let me start with XML. What is XML? So the people often get confused with the XML and with the XML with when they compare with XML with HTML. Yeah, the HTML is actually used to store the data. It's actually used to store data and transfer using some protocols. But whereas XML, HTML, it is used for presentation, not to store data. Okay, often people get confused between these two words. So HTTP stands for the hypertext markup language, whereas XML stands for the extensible markup language. Okay, so why, as I said, that major purpose of XML is used to store data, transfer. HTML is to, okay, and XML is platform independent. XML is platform independent. So, so any language. So saying this, any language can this understand XML, right? There's the other point. So all these XML files must end with the .xml. Okay, so should have some declaration. So let's create me one XML file. I will right click, say uh, I will go to pictures. Also, I will do one thing. Create one folder with a name. System is very slow. Okay. So now here, let's say that okay, let me create XML file. I will select text. Okay, text. I will say sample document sample. Okay, dot text. So this is the text. So to remove text, I will use XML. To convert it as an XML, I will use extension dot XML and click enter. Yes. So now this is XML document. So for a few of the systems, you will be not able to edit the extension. So for them, you need to go to options and select change folder and search options and go to view, and you need to you need to select this hide extension for known file types. You need to uncheck it and click OK. So whenever you click any new file, so you will be able to edit the extension directly. Okay, so we have created sample.xml. So this has an extension .xml and it's also showing the type as XML document. Let me click it. So this is a sample document and we have nothing here. Okay, so I will say open with Notepad++. I will open with Notepad++. Okay. So here, so for any XML file, it should have XML declaration at the first line. So what is that XML extension? This is the XML extension. Question mark XML space version is equal to version 1.0 in the double quotes. So now this is the XML language. So even though, so if at all you want to check whether this is actually XML document or not, we have few methods. We are going to discuss about it. Okay, before that, so for any XML language, we need to have the declaration as this. So all the declaration should be this thing. So let's say that, let me add space here. So this is not the proper declaration. So you can see XML parser line, stage 1 accepted, start tag expected, not found. Okay, so that's the error it's showing. So I will remove this space now. Okay, so there should be no spaces. It should start immediately in the first line, first column. Okay, and even if you have space offered after this angular bracket, even then this cannot be called as an XML declaration. So they should not have spaces here, or it should not have spaces at the end. So nothing. So this is how it needs to be. Okay, so any XML language should have the XML declaration at the first line. Okay, and this is the XML declaration. So if we talk about element, so all the brackets, we know that all the tags can be called as elements. So all the elements, there are we can consider tags as an element. In XML we have two types of elements. In XML we have two types of elements. One is simple element, other one is complex element. So let me create one element. So it should have question mark here. So let me create one tag. I will say employees. So here also the other important thing is XML is case sensitive. So it will identify small letters as small and capital letters as capitals. Okay. So let's say that we have this. So we have discussed that we have two different types of elements. One is simple elements, other one is complex elements. So what are simple elements? So let's say that we have created this tag. I will say employee as some name. So let's say that this is employee Ram. So as it has simple data, no attributes and no sub tags or child tags. So this can be called as an simple. This can be called as a simple element. So let's talk about complex element. Let's say that I have this tag. Okay, so inside this, let's say that I have some value attribute abc is equal to something. So as it has attribute, so it can be called as a complex element. So it can be called as complex. Let me create one more thing. Let's say that I have employees and it has sub elements, child elements. Okay, so as it has a child element, it can be called as complex element. So the simple element is nothing but if it has simple data, let's say that it has only this thing. Okay, it has only this thing, nothing else. So this will be called as a simple element. So complex element is nothing but if it has attributes or if it has child tags, then it will be called as a uh, so let's say that this is the complex element because it has the attribute. So this is called as a simple element. This is called as complex element because it has attribute. So let me create one more. So let's say that it has so it has a child element. So it is also so this can be also called as a complex element. If it has simple data, it is called as a simple element. If it has attribute or if it has inner or the sub elements, then it will be called as a complex elements. Okay. So the XML element should contain only one root tag. So what is the root tag? This is the root tag. Okay. To work with XML, we need to check if the XML is well formed or not. What is well formed? It needs to follow certain rules and conditions. Okay. So first of all, this is not actually a good validator. So we have few validators, but they are not free. So we get it for some bucks. So I'm going to make use of the Eclipse. Eclipse has the XML validator. So first of all, I'm going to create the sample project. I'm going to create some sample project. I'm going to say sample. I'm going to name it as some project. Say finish. This is my project, right? So this is my project. So inside the source, I'm going to create XML file. Say a new other. I'm going to create XML file. Say next and finish. What is my name of the XML file I have created? It's the XML new file.xml. So this is the root tag. As I already said, if we have the spaces in the first line, then it will be not considered as an XML declaration. XML declaration should start immediately in the first line or the first column. Okay. So we should have the question marks, XML space version, and encoding. You can also have encoding. Okay. So let me write something here. I will write so for an employee, he will be having name and some salary, right? 1000. Let's say that we have other element, one more element. To format, you need to enter Control Shift and F. Geeta, and her salary is 2000. So in this way, I have the root tag. In the XML, we need to have a root tag in the first line. That is the one of the important rule. Okay, and other important tool is each and every tag should end with the its corresponding tag element. So here we have the elements. It should end with the. It should definitely end. Okay, so this tag should end here. It have the ending tag here. We should have starting tag and ending tag. That is the rule number 2. So rule number rule is XML is a case sensitive, so all the tags should follow the same case. So let's say that here we have, let me take it as capital letter. So and if I'm ending it with the small letter, then there comes the problem. So to validate it, you can simply right click on it and say validate. When you click validate, it's showing the validation completed. One error was discovered, one resource was validated in under a second. Okay. So you can see it's showing the error here. Red mark. You can see the error is here. What is the error? Here we have the opening tag in the capital letter, E is caps, and then the ending tag E is small. So let me match it with the ending tag. So now again I'm going to right click on it and say validate. The cam completed with a one warning. It's saying it has only one warning. What is that warning? It's a spelling mistake, nothing else. I will say ABC, XYZ. Okay, it's just a spelling mistake, nothing else. Okay, let me do one more validation. Let's say that I will not end this. I will not have ending tag for this. Control save and right click on it and say validate. The validation completed. One error was discovered. Okay, it has discovered one error. So let me place my cursor there. Say it said end tag for the element employee must end with the delimiter. Delimiter. So you can see here this has the starting tag and it does not have the closing tag. So I will correct it. Now again right click on it and say validate to remove this error. Validate. Now the validation completed with just one warning. Okay, what is that warning? No grammar constraints, TTL XML schemas referred in the document. Okay, fine. That's just a warning, right? So these are the rules. Let me pen it down. So rules are nothing but, so rule number 1 is it should have the XML declaration at the starting line. What is rule number 2? XML is a case sensitive, so we need to look into it. We need to do it carefully. So every starting tag should end with corresponding ending tag. Okay. Now coming to the fourth rule. So all the attributes. So all the attributes should be placed in double or single quotes. Anything is fine. Okay. So let's say that we have here the attribute ABC is equal to something. So it can be in the double quote or in the single quote. Anything is fine. Okay. So these are the rules. So there is one more way. Here in the Eclipse, we are coming here and saving it as XML. So let me copy this thing, paste it here. So now I'm not using Eclipse validation. I'm going to use some external. I'm going to use browsers as a validation tool. Okay. So let's say that I have this XML. Okay, and I have the everything set in the right way. I have closing tags and the ending tags, and everything looks good. I have the declaration. Okay. Now I'm going to save it and go to the location where it is. So this is my sample XML and it has this data. So to check whether the data present in it is correct or not, I'm going to simply open it with the Chrome. Simply open it with the Chrome. Okay, I'll open Chrome. I'll open Chrome and then simply drag and drop. So drag and drop, drag it here. So you can see the XML does not appear to have any style information associated. It's asking for the CSS. That's none of our business. So everything is in the formatted in the right way. So we are getting the data. So let me modify it. Let me add some error. So I will not add ending tag here. Okay, I will remove this ending tag, or I will change it to capital letter. Okay, I will save it. I have saved it, and again go to Chrome and I will drag and drop this thing. Drag and drop. See, the page contains the following error. It's saying that error on the line 11 at the column 13 opening and ending tag mismatch. Employees line 0 and employees. So it's saying, let me open this. What it's saying is line number 11 at column 13. Okay, this is 113. Okay, 13 opening and ending tag mismatch. What is that mismatch? It is employees. Line 0 at the line 0. So there is a mismatch between closing and ending tag. So that's how it's showing the error in the right way, right? So even using the browsers, we can do the validation of the XML. Okay. Okay, fine. I will close this. I'm using Chrome, right? I will close this and I will remove this XML declaration. Okay. I will close this XML declaration. Now I will open Chrome again and do the drag and drop. So I don't have the declaration. I will open the Chrome and do the drag and drop. Do the drag and drop. See, I don't have anything here. I don't have the declaration tag. Even then, it's not showing any error and displaying everything in the right way. So automatically, what the browsers have set the declaration. So they have automatically set the declaration, XML declaration, and then used it. So let me try with the same thing with Chrome, with the Internet Explorer. Open this. Open this. Go to location. And simply drag and drop. Oh, even this one is able to successfully able to add the XML declaration at the top and it's using it. So there is no problem, right? Even so, so this means that even though we don't have the XML declaration, all the browsers are by default adding the XML declaration at the top. So that's the conclusion, right? So now we are going to talk about much more. We are going to go much more. So when we design XML files, we need to make sure we easily should convert them into objects. I will close this and open my XML file and add back my XML declaration. Okay, save it. Now, so here, so so here we have designed the XML file, right? So whenever we design, we need to make sure that easily it should be converted into the objects. Here, this employee file should be converted as a one object. So other employee object, this thing should be converted into one object. In this way, we have multiple tags, and on all those tags should be converted into corresponding object. Okay. So why do we have the name extensible? Why do we have the name extensible? We are saying XML is an extensible language. Why do we have the extensible? So it's because we can, which means that other users can reuse the code. So that's the reason we have the meaning. We have the name extensible. So even the other user can reuse it. Okay. Okay. Now let me jump onto the namespaces. This looks a little complex, but it's quite easy, and this is very important as well. Okay. So where do we use these namespaces? How do we, first of all, before using these namespaces, where do we need to create it? So let me go to this XML. Okay, so we have this XML, right? So let me create one namespace. I will go here and create some namespace. What is them? Let me create my namespace as XML ns is equal to. So I will say, so what do we need to have in these namespaces? So we use attributes to reuse in another object. So, so main purpose of the XML can be extensible, right? Which means that other users can reuse the code. So how do they reuse our code? So that's by using namespaces. So we use attribute namespace to reuse it in the other project. We should use namespace XML to any starting tag of the XML. Okay. And we should use XML namespace attribute only one time. Okay, and if you want to use more than one XML, we need to use alias names. So when we want to use more than one XML names, we can use alias names. So the main purpose of namespace is to use it in the to make sure the other users want to make use of our XML, then they will be calling the namespace. So let me create a namespace. So let's say that I have this namespace. Let me create the namespace here. I'll create inside this employee. Okay, I will create here. Namespace is equal to, so I have selected one object, inner class, subclass, and I have given the names. I will selected the attribute, and each and every XML name should be unique. So all the namespaces should be unique. That's the important rule. So that's the reason why the namespaces contains the URL of the company. URL of the company, because that's unique, right? So let's say that I have a company. Let's say that my company is this, and this is my URL. So I will make use of this name. So I will make use of this name, and I will add some. So this is my unique name. So let's say that we want to create one more namespace. So I will say XML ns1. Let's say this is 1, this is 2. So even this should be unique. It should not match with these things. It should be unique. Okay, here I have created one namespace here, another namespace here. Let me copy this and paste it in here. Okay, so I have the two namespaces. So if at all the other users want to make use of this XML, they can call using this. They need to add this namespace in their root tag. Okay, and then they can make use of this thing. So let's say that the other user want to make use of this namespace. So the other users want to make use of this namespace. So what is the other XML? Let me create other XML. So let me create one more XML, new. So let's say that this is my XML. Finish, and this is my XML. So now I want to make use of this namespace. I want to make use of this object. So let me, this is my root tag. This is my tag name. This is cheat, and this is the pin code. Let's say this is pin code. So street is some a, pin code is some 1. This way we have multiple. So let's say that address, this, let's say this address 1. So if at all this one want to make use of this namespace, so then what it needs to do is it needs to add that namespace here. One, and that namespace, unique namespace, because it needs to make use of it. So copy this and add it here. So similarly, let's say that even the second address want to make use of the same namespace. So I will do one thing. So I will again copy this attribute and add it here. Similarly, the third address want to make use of this namespace. Okay. So all the tags, child tags want to make use of the same namespace. So I need to set the attribute separately here. But if they're making use of the same namespace, why do I need to repeat it all the times? Instead of that, what I'm going to do is Instead of that, I'm going to go to root tag and add it there. So if I add it in the root tag, so it will be applicable to it, to all its child tags, right? So if I add it in the root tag, so it will be applicable. That particular namespace will be applicable to all the child tags, right? So this is how we reuse the XMLs by using namespaces, namespace attribute. Okay. So in our coming sessions, we'll be talking much more in about this namespace. That's all for now. Thank you.